Hey guys, it's Ice again. I've got a review today on the Gerber Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Knife Folding Blade. This was the first serious pocket knife I ever had, and I've had it for roughly 8 years. Honestly, this is probably the most beat up knife I have. I've put it through hell. I haven't done a review on it yet just because I never had a whole lot of respect for Gerber in general, just because they don't give you all their information about their knives, and there's not a lot of transparency with what materials they're using, what kind of steels. But I never really wanted to do this review for that reason, but I realized that I really have to do a review on this knife because frankly this is the most indestructible knife or folding blade that I own. It costs roughly $30, at least when I got it. They do have the same knife is still available. It's just in a newer version, newer logo, newer serrations. Just in general, it's still the same knife though. I was very skeptical of this knife at first because it had a rubberized grip, and frankly I never thought that would be very durable. Like I felt like it would wear off, it would get beaten up, it would, scrape off over the years. But I've had this knife longer than any other knife I own, and I've put it through hell, and it's still there, and it's very grippy. This is probably the firmest grip of any knife, fixed or folding, that I have. And I did use this EDC, everyday carry, for many years. The only reason I'm not currently using this as an EDC is because it doesn't have a pocket clip, and that is probably one of the things that bothered me the most about it, because when you EDC a knife that doesn't have a pocket clip, it's just dangling around in your pocket, and it's not there when you need it. Like, you have to dig around for it, and it's not ideal for an EDC. But as you can see, this it has this I think it was a bead blasted coat on the blade, and as you can see, I don't know if you can tell in the video there, but the tip is like literally all of it is worn off. It's just like this. It's just the bare steel now. Luckily, this is a stainless steel, so I don't have to worry about that. Has a 3.6 inch blade. Got a ruler here for you. I can manage to pick it up. There we go. So I got a 3.6 inch blade, and here, I'll bring it up to the camera for you. You can see it's just over 3.5 there. And the reason they didn't put a pocket clip on this was because standard in most states and counties and city laws, to have the maximum blade length on a concealed knife is 3.5 inches, and so since this is 3.6, they didn't put a pocket clip on it. Instead, they provided you with this sheath, and I always found that just to be useless and kind of stupid, because I mean, why would you have a sheath for a folding knife? It's bulky, it gets in the way, it's like 3 times the size of the knife when it's on your belt. You might as well just put it in your pocket. So I never really found this sheath to be very useful or practical, but I suppose they just had to include that because of those laws. The sheath on the back here has, you can loop it through your belt horizontally or vertically. It's a fairly good construction, but still, I never used it, and I never liked the idea. So the what I did like about this blade over all my others is that it has such a beefy blade design that it performs like a fixed blade, because this blade was designed after the regular Ultimate Survival fixed blade. So it has the handle of a fixed blade, rubberized, kind of like traditional Bowie style handle. You just usually go with a Bowie style knife, and this blade is very similar to the Ultimate Survival fixed blade. So it has a lock back, and it's incredibly strong. What I love about the lock back, especially in this blade, is that since the lock back runs almost the entire length of the handle, and it basically latches into the blade, it basically performs like a fixed blade. And I always found that to be incredible, because most folding blades are very fragile, they're not very durable, you can't baton wood with them or anything. But I've put this thing through everything you can imagine. Batoning through nails, knots. I dropped it off a 3-story building onto cement once, didn't break. And all the rubber coating is still there. I've even used this bottom here. It's made of plastic, but I used it as a hammer for a very long time. It's got a bit beat up there, but didn't break the knife. Got a lanyard hole there, but I never really figured that was useful. I'd never liked lanyards. The only thing really that I have going against this knife is that it has a very cheap steel. That's not always a bad thing, but with a folding blade you usually want to have a harder steel. This has pretty bad edge retention, and I've had to put a new edge on it at least like half a dozen times. But it's not that much work because it's such soft steel, so it sharpens up pretty quick. And also the serrations, I have never, or I think I sharpened them up once, but they have stayed sharp. Like, I think the first time I sharpened it was like 6 years after I bought it, whereas the plain edge got dull like immediately. And I found that to be true with a lot of knives, that serrations last longer, way longer than a plain edge. And they cut through things way more aggressively, and to have that in an EDC I've found is extremely useful. The only reason that I never really liked the aesthetics of this knife was that it has these orange, cheesy orange handle endings and the Bear Grylls all over it. So it looks like a cheap knife, and honestly it was made for the Boy Scouts, so I can see why. But I never liked it for that reason, because I don't want my equipment to be bright orange. It's like it gives it away way too easily. If anything, it needs to be subtle. So that's why I never liked this, the colors on this. But honestly, this is probably the best bang for buck knife that I've ever seen. For 30 bucks, this knife has lasted me 8 years and has been the most effective EDC ever that I've ever had. And so it's just extremely durable. The blade's thickness is, I think, 4 millimeters. Also, another thing that people usually don't like about this knife is that it doesn't open very well. It stays closed very firmly, but I actually like that, because a lot of my EDCs, what will happen is there'll be a tip up carry, and in the pocket it'll actually flip open, like if you're doing something active, and it'll just an open blade in your pocket will just slash holes in your jeans, and it could injure you, and it's not safe. But with this, it stays closed no matter what. It's like it doesn't come out at all. Like even if you really try hard. Whereas with a knife like the Smith & Wesson Border Guard, just a flick of the wrist, it comes right out. So it's just like this is not a safe EDC. Whereas this is, it stays closed when you want it to, and it stays open when you want it to. It does everything that you need it to do. It does have very decent thumb jimping right here. Very grippy, very comfortable handle. Nice guard here. And it's not very heavy. It's like the Smith & Wesson right here is significantly heavier, but it's frankly a crappier knife. So I've never really cared much for the weight statistics because frankly I like a heavier knife. Has a dual thumb stud even though it's not very useful. Really doesn't come open very easily. So like, even with a wrist flick, it's very difficult to get it open. So what I usually do is I just push it out a little bit like that and then flip it. So that seems to work pretty well. It's not as fast, but it's like this is a tank of a knife. So it's a trade-off. So yeah, that is my 2 cents on this knife. By far the best bang for buck EDC ever on a folding blade. $30, you can get it pretty much anywhere. Sporting goods stores, REI, Army Surplus, really anywhere. For like around $30. And it's just a tank of a knife. It's beast. So yeah, that is the Gerber Bear Grylls Ultimate Survival Folding Knife. This has been Ice. Thanks for watching.